In our main story this morning, the government last year launched the Zimbabwe National Industrial Development Policy, or ZNIDP, which was expected to help transform the economy through value addition, increasing employment levels, and promoting a culture of savings. The then Industry and Commerce Minister Ndlovu said at the time that through the ZNIDP, government will ensure a conducive operating environment for the private sector, which is expected to spearhead the implementation of the key policy. The ZNIDP sought to turn the manufacturing sector into a technology-advanced, competitive and diversified industry by 2030. Critically, it intended to facilitate and promote the development of sustainable, innovative, inclusive and globally competitive industrial and commercial enterprises for improved consumer welfare and economic growth. The strategic objectives of the ZNIDP include the facilitating sustainable growth of industry, development of new industries, and the transformation and diversification of the local industry. The specific policy objectives were to attain a manufacturing sector growth rate of at least 2% per year, contributing towards attainment of a gross domestic savings rate of about 30% of GDP, manufacturing value-added growth of 16% per annum, merchandise export growth rate of 10% per annum, to orientate the manufacturing sector towards exports and generate capital for a high savings rate, and of course increasing the manufacturing sector share of employment to 20% in 2023. Let's now turn to 2020. The Confederation of Zimbabwe Industries recently launched its 2019 Manufacturing Sector Survey, and grim reading it was. One of Zimbabwe's industry captains had this to say.
The general outlook, according to the Business Confidence Index survey, results for the fourth quarter of 2019, business is pessimistic regarding the economic recovery prospects of the country. Business has shown lack of confidence on improvement in the country's economic situation. Using the following variables, the BCI survey assessed the opinions of those in charge of manufacturing enterprises regarding their expectations. I'm going to repeat them, but you've just seen them right now. It's overall economic situation, inflation and exchange rate, capacity utilization, volume of production, employment, investments, profitability and exports. The survey results showed that business is expecting a worse situation for all the variables in the outlook period. Industry captains are expecting high inflation due to low output and imported inflation, foreign currency shortages, exchange rate depreciation due to a number of factors such as increase in money supply, low output due to the effects of drought, a general lack of confidence in the local currency by the market. Power and fuel shortages are expected to affect capacity utilization with knock-on effects on production and employment, which will result in reduced working hours. We're already experiencing this where we have, in some factories, people are working 3 hours a week where they used to work 24/7. Low exports and volumes and revenue, reduced company profitability, low investment levels due to a very difficult doing business environment. The above synopsis of industry outlook indicates that industry captains are not upbeat about the short-term outlook period. This is due to a difficult doing business environment with the policy making and implementation process lacking credibility due to policy inconsistencies and policy afterthoughts.
Projected capacity utilization in 2020 is expected to decline to 27%, which is a 9.4 percentage points decrease from the actual obtained for 2019. Now, at 27% capacity utilization level, some companies will have to close, with follow-on effects such as unemployment, rising poverty levels in the economy, shortage of goods and services, of course higher inflation, low export volumes, less export earnings, and shortage of foreign currency. A major impediment given by the sector was foreign currency shortages and availability. Closely following this was power shortages at 31%, low local demand inflation at 24%, antiquated machinery and breakdown 6%. Raw material exposure to countries that we compete with at home and export markets makes our products uncompetitive. The cost of power cuts resulted in 29% of the firms surveyed reporting wastages, 36% faced by reduced quality of products, 34% recording machine breakdowns, and 1% facing delayed product testing. Meanwhile, the depreciating Zimbabwe dollar has led to hyperinflation as businesses are pricing their goods in line with parallel market foreign currency exchange rates in order to preserve value. It is therefore clear that just under a year into ZNIDP, the lofty goals expressed in the policy have clearly not yet begun. And in fact, the manufacturing sector, according to the CZI, is in worse shape than ever. This could not have come at a worse time for Zimbabwe's industry. At the continental level, the aspirations of the African Union member states are encapsulated in the Pan-African vision of the AU Agenda 2063, the Africa we want. The vision is for the creation of an integrated, prosperous and peaceful Africa driven by its own citizens and representing a dynamic force in the international arena. One of the key pillars of Agenda 2063 is the Africa Continental Free Trade Area, AFCA. This grand free trade area aims to facilitate industrialization through diversification and development of regional value chains and agricultural production. At the regional level, the policy is aligned to the SADC Industrialization Strategy and Roadmap 2015 to 2063. This strategy envisions the region to progressively move from being factor-driven to investment-driven, then to efficiency-driven, and ultimately to the high-growth trajectory driven by knowledge, innovation, and business sophistication. The ZNIDP is also linked to the national strategies of member states and to the AU's accelerated industrial development of Africa and Agenda 2063. Although the ZNIDP was launched in 2019, it is not clear if any progress has been made to facilitate the sustainable growth of industry in Zimbabwe. In fact, the jury is still out.